After this topic, you are expected to first, understand deeply the K-12 basic education curriculum and the importance of Key Stage 1 in ensuring better school performance of learners. Second, understand better through adherence to grade level standards and content standards for language, reading, and mathematics skills in grade 2. Who are the grade 2 learners? Typically, they are 7 years old children and who have completed grade 1 in public schools and in DAP and accredited private schools and learning centers. What are the documents needed in this grade level? Of course, the SF9 or the Learner Progress Report Card to be presented during the enrollment and the SF10 or Learner's Permanent Academic Record. In this level, the learner's language development is expected. What are the grade level standards in language development for grade 2? First, further development of communication skills. Second, talking about variety of topics using developing vocabulary, simple phrases, and sentences. Third, understanding simple to complex spoken language using both verbal and nonverbal clues. Fourth, understanding vocabulary and language structures. Finally, appreciate and understand the cultural aspects of the language and the writing system. By the end of grade 2, learners will enjoy communicating in their first language on familiar topic for a variety of purposes and audiences using basic vocabulary and phrases. Read ELLN text with understanding and create their own stories and text in their L1. Remember, learning to understand, use, and enjoy language is the first step in literacy and the basis for learning to read and write. In their first few years, children develop many of the oral language skills that help them to learn to read, and they keep developing language skills throughout childhood. Here are the domains of literacy in mother tongue, Filipino, and English. First is oral language development. The learner possesses developing language skills and cultural awareness necessary to participate successfully in oral communication in different contexts. Next, phonological awareness. The learner demonstrates understanding that the words are made up of sounds and syllables. Book and print orientation. The learner demonstrates understanding of the basic features of the book and how print works. Alphabet knowledge. The learner recognizes, names, and sound out all the upper and lower case letters of the alphabet. Word recognition. The learner uses sight word recognition or phonic analysis to read and understand words that contain complex letter combinations, affixes, and contraction. Fluency. The learner demonstrates the ability to read grade-level words with sufficient accuracy, speed, and expression to support comprehension. Spelling. The learner spells words with two or more syllables using phonic, semantic, and morphemic knowledge. Handwriting. The learner writes legibly in manuscript or cursive writing. Composing. The learner demonstrates the ability to formulate ideas into sentences or longer text using conventional spelling. Grammar awareness. The learner demonstrates understanding and knowledge of language grammar and usage when speaking and/or writing. Vocabulary. The learner demonstrates expanding knowledge and use of appropriate grade-level vocabulary and concepts. Reading comprehension. The learner demonstrates understanding of grade-level narrative and informational text. Attitude towards language, literature, literacy. The learner demonstrates positive attitude towards language, literature, and literacy through values reading and writing as communicative activities. Lastly, study skills. The learner demonstrates developing knowledge and skills and strategies to listen, write, and read for specific purposes. Moreover, these domains in Grade 2 focuses on word recognition of high-frequency basic sight words in Grade 2 text, speed and accuracy of grade-level reading appropriate narrative text, reading comprehension of Grade 2 level reading selection, literacy and numeracy assessment in Grade 2 level standard for MTB, MLE, English, and Filipino. Composite test, language, literacy, and numeracy tests integrating the grade level content areas. Let us proceed in the medium of teaching-learning transition in Grade 2. We recognize the learner's MT to be used as MOTL. There is a dominance of the mother tongue in most subjects, and we accommodate the Filipino in English from first to fourth quarter. The table shows the literacy development and language competencies per quarter. As you can see, we are using these three languages, the mother tongue, Filipino, and English, from first quarter to fourth quarter. However, in first quarter, we are using mother tongue in understanding and using correct grammar and structure. Filipino as introduction to literacy, beginning reading and beginning writing. English, we continue building oral competence and language vocabulary. In second quarter, we already using English as introduction to literacy, beginning reading, and beginning writing. Let us now proceed in grade level standards for mathematics or numeracy skills of Grade 2. These are what Grade 2 learners are expected to know and be able to do. At the end of Grade 2, the learners demonstrate understanding and appreciation of key concepts and skills involving whole number up to 10,000. Fractions, measurement, simple geometric figures, the algebra concepts and data presentation and analysis as applied. Using appropriate technology and critical thinking, problem solving, reasoning, communicating, making connections, presentations and decision in real life. Literacy and numeracy skills are the foundations of lifelong learning. These skills empower learners to make meaning, think critically and creatively, and reach their full potential. As much as possible, we want these skills to master in our learners. We can develop the literacy and numeracy skills of our learners by providing them developmentally appropriate practices or activities that are appropriate to their age, individuality, and socio-cultural diversity of every learner. Provide lessons based on content and pedagogy suited on how 7-year-old children think, learn, and relate with others. By providing developmentally appropriate practices, children can develop oral and communication skills, enhance self-confidence and socio-emotional maturity, and academic preparation for the next grade level. All the competencies are based in the universal standard for the characteristics of grade 5 to 8 years old, which we call early childhood education, expressed and articulated as kinder, grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3, with primary goal of providing them these activities and experiences for them to have a strong foundation in literacy and numeracy. Here are some samples of developmentally appropriate practices strategies. First is demonstrate the correct way to do something. This usually involves the procedure that needs to be done in a certain way, such as using a wire whisk or writing the letter P. Like doing investigatory project or having experiment. Learners able to follow the steps and instruction. Next strategy is create or add challenge, so that the task goes a bit beyond what the children can already do. For example, you lay out a collection of chips. Count them together and then ask a small group of children to tell you how many are left after they see you removing some of the chips. The children count the remaining chips to help come up with the answer. To add a challenge, you could hide the chips after you remove some, and the children will have to use a strategy other than counting the remaining chips to come up with the answer. To reduce challenge, you could simplify the task by guiding the children to touch each chip once as they count the remaining chips. Another strategy is ask questions that provoke children's thinking. Like for example, if you couldn't talk to your seatmate, how else could you let him know what to do? Or, what would happen if? How else could be another way to solve? Why do you think? How do you know? What will happen next? How did this happen? How are we going to monitor our learners' progress? We are using, first, formative test. This is an ongoing process to provide learners with immediate feedback on how well they are learning. Results of these assessments are documented. Summative test and quarterly exams. This is used to make sure whether learners have met the content and performance standards. The results of these assessments are used as basis for computing grades. Performance task is any learning activity or assessment that asks students to perform to demonstrate their knowledge, understanding, and proficiency. These yield a tangible product and or performance that serve as evidence of learning. Report cards or SF9 to convey information from school to parents about the student's education progress. And anecdotal record. This is to inform teachers as they plan learning experiences, provide information to families, and give insights into identifying possible development. These evidences involve focused and timely gathering, analysis, interpretation, and use of information for our learners to receive feedbacks that can enhance their learning and to us teachers to address gaps and to plan further learning. Here's the components of our grading system based on DAP Order number 8, series of 2015. This will be the guide of teachers to track and measure learners' progress and to adjust instruction accordingly. In a grading period, there is one quarterly assessment, but there should be instances for students to produce written work and to demonstrate what they know and can do through performance tasks. Written works is a component that ensures learners can express skills and ideas in written form through essay, written reports, and outputs. Performance task. This component allows learners to show what they know and what they can do in a diverse ways through group presentations, oral work, research projects. Quarterly assessment. This component measures students' learning at the end of the quarter through objective test, performance-based assessment, or both. For 30% in languages, MTB-MLE, Filipino, English, and AP-ESP. 40% in math and 20% in MAPE. For performance task, 50% in languages, MTB-MLE, Filipino, English, and AP-ESP. 40% in math and 60% in MAPE. For quarterly assessment, 20% for languages like MTB-MLE, Filipino, English, ASP, and AP. 20% in math and 20% in MAPE. This is the grading scale of our learners' progress based on DAP Order number 8, series of 2015. However, pandemic brought changes to our education system. Teachers and learners must adopt to alternative learning modalities to ensure the learners will achieve curricular goals. According to DAP Order number 31, series of 2020, or the interim guidelines for assessment and grading in light of the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan. To evaluate students' learning at particular points in each quarter, summative assessment shall continue in form of written works and performance tasks. Let us now proceed in assessment for grade 2. We all know that assessment is a process that is used to keep track of learners' progress in relation to learning standards and in developing first-century skills. To promote self-reflection and personal accountability among students about their own learning, and to provide basis for profiling of learners' performance on the learning competencies and standards of the. First is the classroom assessment. It is an ongoing process of identifying, gathering, organizing, interpreting qualitative and quantitative information about what learners know and can do. Under classroom assessment are formative assessment and summative assessment. Formative assessment is an ongoing process to provide learners with immediate feedback on how well they are learning. Results of these assessments are documented but not included in computing grades. Summative assessment is used to measure whether learners have met the content and performance standards. The results of these assessments are used as basis for computing grades. Formative and summative assessment can be done individually and collaboratively. Individual assessment enables learners to demonstrate independently what has been learned through check-up, quizzes, unit tests, written output, performances, and quarterly assessment. While collaborative assessment allows learners to support each other's learning to produce evidence of their learning through discussions, games, group activities, and creations of projects. Formative assessment may be integrated in all parts of the lesson. Before the lesson, learner understands the lesson's purpose and identifies what they know about the topic. The teacher determines what the learner knows and can do. During the lesson, the learner monitors one's progress. Teacher tracks learning progress in comparison to formative assessment results before the lesson. And after the lesson, the learner recognizes whether they have met the learning objectives, and the teacher assesses whether the learning objectives have been met. Next is the exit assessment. We have the early language literacy and numeracy assessment, or we call ELLN. It is based on DAP Order number 12, series of 2015. I have here the Grade 2 MTBMLE Early Literacy Toolkit of the Schools Division of Iloilo. It is a 25 items multiple choice format to measure literacy and language skills in Hiligaynon. It focuses on oral fluency, Hiligaynon literacy, oral communication competency, grammar and Hiligaynon language structure, developing language skills and competency in Hiligaynon, effective use of orthography and thesaurus, effective use of writing system, and understanding vocabulary and language structure. Macro skills: viewing, speaking, reading, and writing. Prerequisite skill: listening. For interpretation of score, the raw score of 16 to 25 means 76 to 100% mastery level. 8 to 15 raw score means 52 to 72 mastery level. And 0 to 7 raw score means 48% mastery level. This exit assessment tool will determine if the learners are meeting the learning standards and help provide information to improve instruction practices.
Every child deserves a champion mentor, an adult who will never give up on them, someone who understands the power of connections, that they become the best they can possibly be. And that someone is a teacher, a parent, a person who truly cares. In this time of pandemic, our learners' education is at stake. Let us bring hope and smiles in their eyes. Thank you very much for being a part of this mission.